everyone, welcome to another round of Chitter Chatter. Today we're going to chit chat with Ravi Valluri sir. Well, you've seen him in the past live sessions with us. This is his third live session and this is his next book, rather the current book, Out of War to Art of Living. I have loved the book. I have posted the review, and if you haven't read the review, let me tell you a little about this book. Well, this book is about a girl, a Japanese girl who gets on her spiritual journey, and it's all about her voyage, about how she got onto this journey, what obstacles she faced, and how she went on dropping an anchor of self-discovery on the way. So all you have to do is order your book, and right now enjoy this chitter chatter with Ravi sir. I'm going to ask him all about this book and a lot more. Well, let me also tell you, while I was on this book, I went on my own spiritual journey. I discovered so much about myself. We all have a lot of spiritual awakenings. We all have a lot of spiritual insights. We all have a lot of questions. And this course automatically transports you to your own journey. It's like, you're parallelly reading your own journey kind of a situation. So all I would say is that if you like these kind of books, go ahead and order Art of War to Art of Living. Hello sir, welcome to Chitter Chatter.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome back, rather. This is our third Chitter Chatter, and it's so much fun to chit chat with you about your current books, because every book has so much of learning that is provided, and it's written with so much passion that when you read, you can't leave it. The words just don't leave you.
Thank you so much.
So, tell our viewers a little about Art of War to Art of Living.
It was a Sunday morning. I was then at Allahabad, Prayagraj. Suddenly I got a call from Bangalore Ashram of Art of Living. And one of the senior most teachers, Dr. Manikantan, he had asked me to write an OTT script about a Chinese woman and her journey. So I said, well, I haven't still written any script, but I can write a book. And that's how it began. So the quest of a Chinese woman and her journey, and it got transformed into a book.
And how long did it take you to write this book?
It took about a year, and then a lot of editing and a lot of inputs were given. Number one, the story itself of the protagonist, Xiaoming. Then I had to go through several videos on China and Zhuangzhang, and several, I had to read a lot of literature. It took about a year or so, and then my wife had edited it. So in all, it took about, I would say, a year and a half. In fact, I had promised you once it is published, we'll have a discussion on it.
And I'm so glad we are having a discussion, because like I was telling my viewers out here, when you read this book, though it's her journey that you've expressed, but somehow it puts you on your own spiritual journey. Like actually, while I was reading her voyage, I kept thinking that, where do I want to discover myself? Where do I want to put my own anchor? What is my spiritual journey been like? So there is literally like a parallel thing going on in my head about myself, at the same time reading about her, because it's not that, she needed to find something or she was lacking something, but it was still an enlightenment journey that she had taken up.
Yes, Xiaoming, the protagonist, came from a very humble origin, humble background. And then she became a technocrat. And like Jack Ma of Alibaba, she was rejected. Several jobs were rejected, as many 10, 15. Then she set up a startup, and then she discovers something unique, then loses everything, and then begins her journey, a voyage, both internally and externally. And she travels westward. It so happened that during the period of her, when she is very upset, she sees this film. There's a movie, an Indo-China production on Zhuangzhang. He came to India 1400 years back in the quest, in the search of the pristine Buddhist texts and Buddhism. So she was very intrigued by it. and someone who's extremely logical, who doesn't believe in God, who doesn't believe in religion, who doesn't believe in spirituality, just impressed by two personalities. One is Sun Tzu, that is the person, the ancient Chinese military strategist, and her logical mind. And Xiao Jiaming is very much influenced by the Chinese premier, Li Jinping. And that is her entire life. That's how she begins her journey. And then she, as you have read the book and your review too, her quest, and it's a very nice review which you have written, both an internal and an external journey, a voyage.
So, sir, apart from this, I would like to know, you yourself got onto this voyage of art of living. So, what triggered you and how did you get onto this journey?
My personal story was, I became an alcoholic, and at that time, it was one of those, I was in a very bad condition. So happened one day my father was taking a walk in Bikaner. I was posted there. Someone came from nowhere and he tapped on my father's shoulder and he said, "Tell your son to go to Jaipur and do the course of art." And after that, my father never saw him. It so happened that very next year I was posted in Jaipur and my wife enrolled me for this course. So I'm very grateful to my wife. And she used to take me every day for the course. And that's how my journey with Art of Living began. And it took me some time before I could eschew alcoholism. And finally, I gave up alcoholism in the year 2006, December 9th, the precise date. And as per Alcoholics Anonymous, that's the rebirth. And you're born again. So that was my journey. And since then, I have been dry, sober. And Gurudev had asked me to start writing. And that's how I started writing, sharing my story, conducting courses for alcoholics, drug addicts, and writing on human mind. But this is a spiritual fiction. It is spirituality plus a fiction, a combination of the two. Amazon called it spiritual fiction. And it's something very unique, very, very dear to me, the entire story.
Generally, there is obviously fiction attached to it, and Amazon is calling it a spiritual fiction. But there is a lot of truth and reality attached to it too. It's a journey of hers which actually took place, and maybe a little facts here and there are fictionalized. So when you're writing a journey of somebody, how difficult or how challenging it is?
You have to really get into the skin of the character and understand her mind, how she would react to various situations. In this case, Yao Ming, how her mind reacted. Somebody who's so logical in her thinking, such experiential feelings she had, experiences in China. In her visit, say, to the Phoenix Temple. I won't reveal the entire story, especially those who have not read it, and they should read this book. And they, like Joanne Zhang, who traveled westward, she also traveled westward. And she kept comparing, her life with that of Sun Tzu, then with Joanne Zhang, and how 1400 years back it was so difficult. He was in India for almost 17 years, and all over India he traveled, and he wrote his text, and he got back to China. So she goes on this journey. She has a boyfriend who's looking for her, wanting her to come back. She first visits Thailand, then Malaysia, then her travel on the flight, her connection with a person whom she meets, and then her journey in India. And she keeps questioning each and everything. And everything is logical for her. And logic plays a very important part. Everything, she configures in her mind as an equation. Like there's an equation there. where she says that when she goes to Banaras, she says that Varanasi is equal to life plus death, and Haridwar is life plus death. So Varanasi is like Shiva, and Haridwar is Vishnu. So Shiva plus Vishnu, are they life plus death? So she keeps thinking about it and keeps questioning. And her experiences in Delhi, in Valley of Flowers, in Rishikesh, then Nasik, then her foray into Vipassana, search for a bearded man, all kinds of things, and how her mind kept is cannonaded by various thoughts, and how she overcomes it finally.
What was the one most challenging part in the writing part, besides getting into her skills? This 1 year that you wrote uh, on the thoughts where you had to actually pen it down.
See, one had to number one, it had to engage the reader, and one couldn't deviate from the reality. A combination of the two to make it entertaining, and uh, yeah, plus the quotations which I have used and the mathematical part in the book. So a combination of all these factors. So I had to be realistic, yet create it into a fiction to engage the reader. So that was a very tough thing.
You know, the past books that I've read are more like short stories, a compilation of short stories that you've put together, be it the festivals, be it the parallels from the universe. And there's one more book that I'm reading, which I'm going to put up the review super soon. But this book was one story, one journey. So, what was it different from writing short stories and then now this one journey together?
Well, I personally think this also is a voyage. Now I'm writing fiction. I was writing non-fiction, then moving over to fiction, began with short stories, drabbles, and writing a fiction. It's very, very challenging. It's very tough because you have to create that ambience, that atmosphere, and see that the audience, the reader is engaged. So, and it had writing, say, 230 odd pages to see that you really get yourself involved in it, and nothing should, go amiss. And how the chapters which you have written, the flow has to be maintained. That is most important. That flow should not be missing at all.
You know, throughout your book, you started every chapter with a proverb, which just sets the tone right for every chapter. So, which is the first proverb that really you like? I know it's very difficult to choose. It was very difficult for me also to choose the proverbs. But if you had to quote one of them, which one would it be?
I think Sun Tzu's quote, "The war is won in the mind." So it is, I would rate it, finally, it is in the mind. If you can win the war in the mind, you can do anything.
If you had to give it another title, from Art of the War to Art of Living, what would it be?
Some other title for the book?
Yes, if you had to give another title, if this wasn't the title, what would it be?
I think this is the most appropriate title. Uh, no other title. We had number of titles in mind, but finally it was decided that we'll have this title. Uh, I would credit the concept artist. His name is Arvind Nagasayana, who worked in China, who had, narrated this story. He had met this person, and that's how it. And the publisher and who also had contributed to the title. So all these had come about. I think this was the best possible title. Though originally for the OTT, the title was something different, which I cannot share right now.
If there was this one thing that you couldn't incorporate in the book because the book was ready, and there had to be an other additional quote or a chapter or a thought. What was it?
Something which I could not add to it.
Yeah, maybe because the book had already gone for publishing, or maybe it had to be edited because of the concept or the thought or limitations of pages. So what is that one thing that you really wanted to add but you decided that you couldn't?
I think this is complete. Maybe a sequel to it can be created. Maybe her arrogance, at some stage, she becomes arrogant. Um, there are so many things, there is no end to it. You can keep thinking, but you have to cut down at one stage. So whatever was written was mercilessly edited by my wife, and she saw to it that it was as compact as possible.
When the book came to you, obviously with the book comes a lot of reviews. What are the reviews that came to you and you really thought that yes, this is exactly what my thought was, this is exactly what I wanted my readers to get to know, and that is what I'm getting back in return?
Yes, I mean, people are saying that it is their internal voyage, and everybody is talking about the voyage aspect, the transformation aspect, and like it is not just this quote, which Sri Ravi Shankar's quote is there, that every hurt is trying to shake you to see whether you are strong or not. It tests your strength. It is to make you stronger. So basically, the happiness, finally, what she discovers, the happiness after her entire voyage. So that is the most important thing. We are all in search of happiness.
True. Like there is this quote, meditate, do not delay, lest you regret it. By
Pardon?
Gautam Buddha.
Medit-
Meditate, do not
Ha, ha.
delay, lest you later regret it. And that's exactly what happens. We always keep delaying things or tend to be like, okay,
That's what you have written in. That's what you have written in your review. See, it's very important to live in the present moment, as we call it in the art of living. That's what Buddha has also written. All the philosophers. That is the power of now. I mean, if you live in the past, it is full of regrets. If you live in future, it's full of anxieties. So if you live in the present moment, that is the power of now. But this is, dealt here in her everyday, her routine, how she uh, goes through her inner transformation um, to discover that happiness. Because there's so much of, despite enormous wealth, there is lack in her life. So that lack and how she overcomes that lack to find the happiness, that is most important.
Also in the book, the meditation part, what meditation is, how she gets onto the journey of meditation, and all of that is mentioned. I wouldn't want to talk more about it because if I do, I will end up giving up a lot of the story, and I want the readers here to actually get their copies and read it. But what is meditation for you?
Meditation is, basically deconcentration. You achieve a state of total bliss that you are at that present moment, and it calms down your mind. Your mind becomes very silent, and then uh, you become very creative. Meditation has that immense power that you become extremely creative. What happens to this lady? She has so many experiences of meditation to finally find the real power of meditation. It's like, Newton sitting under a tree and suddenly the apple falls. So it's an experiential thing. It cannot be taught. I mean, it is taught, but one has to experience it, and one has to keep doing it every day to see to it that you develop into a good meditator and calms you down. That's very important. That calmness and that tranquility.
So, what is meditation for you, and how often do you meditate? How has it become a part of your lifestyle?
Well, I meditate 3, 4 times a day. I meditate in the morning, then afternoon, then I do what is called yoga nidra before I go off to sleep. And I also do a bit of vipassana meditation. That has, in fact, people ask me that you're in such a job of railways, which is round the clock. How are you able to write? Where do you find the time? So I think it is the power of Sudarshan Kriya, the unique breathing technique, which I've learned in the art of living, which has been Gurudev's gift to mankind, and the various meditation techniques. So it is yoga, pranayama, meditation, and Sudarshan Kriya. All this combination which has helped me. And the most
So,
important thing has been to give up alcohol. That has been the most important thing.
a lot of viewers here are asking about art of living because there are a lot of viewers who want to know that how can they join the course, what courses are available. So, if you could guide them a little.
Uh, See, one has to do what we call the happiness program. Earlier, it used to be called the Part 1 program, where the breathing technique of Sudarshan Kriya is taught, and some yogic practices and meditation. That is followed by what we call the Part 2 or the Advanced Meditation program, where various techniques of meditation are taught. And then slowly there is something called Sri Sri Yoga. There various yogic practices are taught. Then you become a blesser if you do the blessings program. As a teacher, we had to do, what we call the teachers training course, phase 1, phase 2. So all that evolved us. There are two things which were so dramatic. There is a process there called the Buddha process. As you know, beggars, we were converted into beggars, and we did begging on the streets of Bengaluru, and
Okay.
it was just shattering your ego. And there was another process where you are blindfolded and taken by a buddy, and it's like the divine is guiding you. So all that, these are package of courses. In fact, Art of Living combines of Sudarshan Kriya, yoga, meditation, and most importantly, doing seva. And that seva or service that enhances your meditative powers and tranquility. And finally, satsang. You have to talk about be part of satsang where bhajans are sung, and you just soak into that energy.
Wow. So I hope people here, the questions you all had regarding the Art of Living workshops, you've gotten roundabout about it. If there is anything more you want to ask about Art of Living, you can message Sir or you can go on the Art of Living page and find out more. Besides that, do get your copies of Art of War to Art of Living and read it for yourself to know what it is like to get on a spiritual voyage. And on this note, I am going to take a selfie time. So, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, my last question to you, sir, would be that it's been a journey of writing books and spreading these beautiful fictional learnings that you do through. What is next on your?
I couldn't get your question. It was slightly disrupted.
I said you've been on this beautiful journey of spreading learnings through your fictional books. Be it this one, be it Parents of Universe, be it Heartbreak at Coffee Shop. There's so many books that you've penned down, and writing comes to you as your second nature. What is next on the pipeline?
Oh, what's in the pipeline? Okay. There are two works I'm writing on. One is my personal journey, my entire life story. That's autobiographical account. And there's another story, another novel I'm writing with a lady called Jamuna Rangachari that we are co-authoring. So those are the two works I'm working right now.
So guys, stay tuned in because we may have two more chitter chatters and a lot more reviews coming in. I'm also reading another book by Sir, which I'm going to review very soon. Maybe later in the week, you're going to see me posting my review on it because I'm at it. And besides that, Sir, thank you for writing this book because, like I said earlier, and I would like to repeat myself, when I was reading this journey of Art of War to Art of Living, I was actually living my own spiritual journey mentally, and it just kept me on a trip with her. So it was like a parallel trip going on with the Japanese protagonist and me here right in India.
Yeah. It's your jamming yourself.
So
Shweta was
thank
jamming.
Yeah, Shweta was totally on Art of Living path. From her Art of Chitter Chatter to Art of Living was happening with her while she was reading this book, and I would
I would say
definitely
that,
agree.
yeah, thank you so much. It's most important thing, which I forgot to mention in this meditation, that mental chatter that stops. That helps a lot, and you become far more productive. It is the reduction in the level of mental chatter.
Which is so crucial. That's why I prefer doing chitter chatter than having my own mental chatters.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir, for being a part of this chitter chatter. Thank you for coming again on this platform, and thank you for writing beautiful stories out there that inspire us, that actually give us so much inspiration through fiction. So thank you once again for all your books and for being a part of this chitter chatter.
Welcome. Thank you so much.